increasingly as a tool of racial and/or gender control. So going back in time to the end of the Civil War, after the Civil War ended and slavery was legally abolished, many of the southern states passed what were known as black codes, which basically criminalized actions that were done by black people or former slaves. So if they were standing in a group of, say, more than 3, if they were out past a certain time, if they were unemployed, if they were perceived to be drunk or disorderly, they would be arrested and sent to first to jail and then the penitentiary. And if a white person or if a party of white people were doing these same actions, they would not be arrested, they would not be penalized, they would be let to go about their business. So this was a way to administer some kind of social control over the newly freed black population. And this drastically changed the color of prisons. So I focus mostly on women in prison or people in women's prisons. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Between 1831 to 1859, the years prior to the Civil War, only 3 of Tennessee's 24 women prisoners were black. The rest of them were white. In 1868, after the black codes had been passed in that state, 100% of Tennessee's women prisoners were black. And again, this was because black women were being rounded up and criminalized for their actions after they'd been freed. In Alabama, similarly, prior to the abolition of slavery, 99% of the people in Alabama's prisons were white. Shortly after the black codes were passed, the overwhelming majority of Alabama's prisoners were black. And prisons and jails employed prison labor and convict labor to replace free labor. So they would basically have people work off their sentences. If you were a black person, you were incarcerated, and then you would be fined. If you didn't have the money, which many newly